All right, so let's move into our second method of this. We had graphing in the last video. Now we're going to talk about substitution. We're going to use the same problems too, so you know that the answer is what it is. But we're going to show you that we can get that another method. All right, so substitution, and it does what it says before. We're going to plug one problem into the other, or this one into here. It doesn't really matter which way you go, right? And we're going to go and finish that either by factoring or the quadratic formula. I don't care which one you use. It's up to your comfort level. I always think factoring is faster, but that's up to you guys. So as we start, remember, to use substitution, you need this idea of a variable equals some stuff. So I gotta have y equals or x equals or something like that to be able to do this. Okay. So we're going to start with, we're going to take our stuff. This is our stuff, right? And we're going to insert that into the equation in the other spot, right? So it's just a simple matter of putting things in the right spot. So what this creates is this. It creates 2x squared minus 8x plus 5 equals 2x minus 3. I simply plugged it into the other. Now remember, in order to solve this, right, I have to have it equal to 0, okay? So to make it equal to 0, so we need equal to 0. It's a good note to make to yourself. Okay, I'm going to move the 2x and I'm going to move the 3 over here. And again, I do that because I want my a value to be positive. It's already positive 2, so I'm not going to mess with that. So this gives you 2x squared minus 10x plus 8 is now equal to 0. Yes, you do need to keep that equal to 0 there. Okay, now from here, right, you could go either factoring or quadratic formula. I'm going to do factoring first, and then I'll show you the quadratic formula second, so you can see both of them. But remember, factoring has some requirements. If you use the quadratic formula, we're good to go. You don't need to worry about it at all. But factoring, remember, you need a GCF, right? So your GCF on this is 2. So I'm going to take a 2 out, right? That gives you x squared minus 5x plus 4, and that equals 0. Okay, so now I got the GCF out. I've got 2 types of x, so I can't use square roots. So we go ahead and we're going to x box it up. Right? And notice I'm only doing the stuff inside the parentheses. Right? Again, proper factoring is I have to take the GCF out first. So this gives you 4x squared. Now I need factors of 4 that I can use to get negative 5. And that would be negative 4x and negative 1x. So that's going to help me build my box as I go. All right, so here's the box. Okay, again, this is done now. So you have x squared here. We have 4 here. And then we'll have our 2 factors, negative 4x and negative 1x. So I've got that, okay? Rows and columns now. This top row shares only an x. There's no number that goes into both. So as we fill this in, this will be x because x times x is x squared. And then this will be a negative 1. This will be a negative 4. So we've got x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay? So x equals 1 or x equals 4. Now, as we have this, right, we're not done. Normally, if I was just solving this equation, remember, this would be where I would stop. But in our solutions, those are the x values. I am still missing the y values of this. So I have to use these to find y. Now, I can only do this one at a time. So we're going to use these to find y, the corresponding y value that goes. So we're just going to kind of start one by one. And it doesn't matter which equation you choose, but let's work smarter, not harder than I have to, right? So here, I'm going to use this equation down here. So I'm going to have y equals 2 times my x value, which is 1, and then minus 3, okay? So when I do that, I got y equals 2, then minus 3, so y is negative 1. So when x is 1, y is negative 1. So I put the negative 1 here in that as we go. Okay? So that's my first answer there. I've got that value of negative 1. My second solution, because remember, solutions are ordered pairs, is simply taking this and doing the same thing. y equals 2. 4 is the x value this time, minus 3. So we get y equals 8 minus 3, so y will be 5. And that is the other value I have here. So that gives me my two solutions. Okay, so that goes with that. That's factoring. And again, I don't care which method you use as long as you are going through and showing me these steps and go. It's just up to you as you go. So quadratic formula, okay, very, very similar. Okay, I've got a starting point already here. So this is the quadratic. This was factoring. So if I move that up here, quadratic, I've got that problem, that 2x squared minus 10x plus 8 equals 0. That's kind of where we started. Okay. Again, I don't have to worry about anything in here. It's already equal to 0, so I can just go right ahead into my quadratic. There's A, there's B, and there's C. Right? So when I do this, right, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Again, just plugging those values into my quadratic formula so you can see where they go. All right. Well, this gives me 10 plus and minus the square root of 36 is what you get from that, all over 4. Okay. Now, the nice thing about this, hey, 36, that's my discriminant. It's positive, so I have two real solutions, and it's a perfect square. Right? That's great. That makes my life a whole lot easier. So this goes to 10 plus and minus 6 all over 4 because the square root of 36 becomes 6. Okay, so this part gave me that part, which gives me the 6. This is where we break it up into two parts. All right, so I'll have 10 plus 6 over 4, 10 minus 6 over 4. And this gives me x equals 4 here. This gives me x equals 1 here. So once again, I've got 4 and I've got 1 as my x values. Okay? That's not the end of the road. I still have to go back and satisfy my original problem by finding my y values. Okay? We already know what the answer here is, right? We can use those same things. We know that we get 5 when we plug 4 in, and we get negative 1 when we plug 1 in. I'm not going to go through and do that all over again for you because it's the exact same thing. The factoring and the quadratic are only used to find the x values, the first half of our solution set. Okay, we have to use those then to find y. Right? I'll use that. Use to find y. All right, that gives me the output values. That gives me these, which are my two solutions. Once again, you could check these answers by plugging them into my original problem up here. If I plugged 5 in over here, I would get 4 out. If I plugged 5 in here, I would get 4 out. If I plugged 4 in here, I would get 5 out. If I plugged 4 in here, I would get 5 out. If I plugged 1 in here, I would get negative 1 out. If I plugged 1 in here, I would get negative 1 out. So as we go through and do that, that's kind of where that leaves off. That takes me through all this, and that gives you another method of solving those things. So graphing, factoring, and quadratic formula. Substitution gives you those parts. Substitution just kind of gives you those parts. Set those things up as you go. So just be aware of those things. Those are options. If you're not told what option to use, it's your choice. But if you are told a specific way, then you need to follow that method. Okay, that's solving nonlinear systems.